Hey guys, Pick 6 here today, giving you a breakdown of tips and tricks on going for nukes and the strategies I use to usually go about getting them. My first step is going to show you my class setup and what I usually do to go and get them. My SMG class here, this is mostly my rushing setup, but it works pretty well in smaller ranges. It's very important you choose classes, perks, and kill streaks set up geared to certain maps. I use this class primarily in smaller indoor maps. The RPD is a good mix because you can use this gun pretty much in any map. Small, large, long sight lines, small sight lines, indoor, outdoor. The Barrett's primarily a sniping setup, obviously. So I use this typically in overgrown or wasteland, and I use that pretty well getting nukes. This is probably my favorite overall class because of the sleight of hand stopping power. It gives me a lot to work with. This is my stealth class whenever I'm going for nukes. I have scavenger because the ACR runs through ammo quick. M93 Rafika are probably my favorite secondary arms because it gives you opportunities to take out multiple opponents in close range if you ever run into a problem, because the ACR simply just, especially with a silencer, even with stopping power, it's not very damaging. Typically I use the 7, 11, and 25. I'll just change them here. I use the AC-130 over the chopper gunner because it's much more difficult to shoot down. That's my setup right there. The main point to get out of gun selection and perks and attachments is always use what is most comfortable for you. Like, for example, the red dot sight for me is typically the most comfortable for most guns. You can use hardline if you feel you can get 6 kills much easier, but I prefer stopping power because I don't have to worry about landing a certain amount of bullets and losing the intensity over range. Okay, next I'm going to get into strategies such as reading spawns, reading your minimap, and taking appropriate cover. I'll use this match here I had was a perfect example. You see how all of my teammates are at C? I'm taking the lead, but I'm at cover here, so all they can see is my head. I'm letting him take the lead, and see, he almost hits a claymore. Now, looking around, you're going to see that they have A and they have B, which means right now they have 3 flanking routes, either through the cave, where I came from on the steps, or to where I was looking to where my teammate was. I look back down there because I figure this is a choke point and this is where they're going to be coming from. You have to make sure to take cover because people will tube, and anyone coming up that way will target you quick. And if you're overwhelmed by more than a few guys, it's almost certain you're dead. Right now I see that my teammates are in the cave. I also see that the steps where I spawned earlier are covered, so all I have to worry about is directly in front of me. You'll want to check that one back cave frequently because that's a flank point. Other than that, just sit and wait for them. Like, some people will say it's campy, but it's just smart strategy to not go out rushing with your head cut off if you're going for a 25 kill streak. Typically, you always want to read your minimap. That's number one. Like, I spend about 50% of the time watching the minimap versus actually watching gameplay. If you move around, you always should go from cover to cover. Like, I use those rocks for cover. Minimize your exposure as much as possible. You can sometimes at the start of maps rush to hit them at their spawn, but this is much riskier. So it's a very dangerous thing to do because you might be able to get 4 kills quick and then a guy that spawns kills you. Typically, if you want to sneak up on them, I'd highly advise using a silencer. And make sure you have stopping power on it because a silenced ACR with hardline, for example, is extremely weak. Going for nukes, you want to play more defensive. You don't want to rush unless you have to. You wait for them to come to you like I was doing earlier, just waiting for them to come up that alleyway. You find their spawn and you wait for them. This works best in domination because all you have to do is wait by a flag that they have covered. And typically if you get 2 of those flags, you can spawn trap them and then just sit outside their respawn point. Team Deathmatch is harder to get a read on the spawns, but it follows the same format. Anywhere on the map that isn't near your teammates that's empty, typically is where they are. You're in their spawn, minus maybe cold-blooded stragglers. Never exceed your teammates. Let them take the lead. They tell you where the enemy is. You definitely want to hold choke points and be patient. Like I was earlier there, that choke point was the alleyway up the hill. You just wait there and wait for them. Rushing out impatiently gets you killed. Some obvious points, like when I used the AC-130 here, I made sure I was very well hidden. Although that's a common spot, that's a bad example. Typically you want to take cover in a spot where no one would normally look to find you. It makes it much difficult to kill you. Another obvious key point, if you're reloading your gun, make sure you take cover. The last thing you want to do is reload your gun right in the open and get a bullet to the head. I know that last part seems obvious, but you wouldn't believe how much it happens when you get lazy. Another key point with kill streaks, like I previously said, I use the AC-130 a lot. When you have your Harriers, you want to drop it on their spawn. You want to see where they were coming from and drop your Harriers on that spawn. An AC-130, you just have to be well aware of their spawn points. The second you see one person spawn, typically there's going to be 3 or 4 others that spawn with them. Always try to fire near an indoor or entranceway, even sometimes a window, like in the pillboxes here in Afghan, because if you have the accuracy to actually get the shot in there, you can take out whoever's in there. In this AC-130, I was a bit late to realize that they were spawning outside of that pillbox, so I wasn't able to get as many kills as I would have liked, even though toward the end it starts picking up a bit. Typically and obviously you don't want to have to rely on getting a lot of kills after your kill streaks. You want your kill streaks to do the work for you. Like I ran out of time here. I speed this section up a bit because, well, it's rather boring because I'm just trying to read their spawns. I noticed that to my left is completely clear, so I figured they'd be coming up this way. But then my team started spawning all around me, so I knew that we were all by ourselves. This port here, I just used the Glocks to snipe some guy coming up. See, this part here is something you never do, and that's go out completely unarmed. Let that be a lesson to you people, that I screwed up big time there. You never go out completely unarmed into a section like that. I got away with it and I got lucky. So I'm just, now at this point I wasn't sure where they were, so I'm just sitting back and waiting. And suddenly a guy comes up out of nowhere, kills my teammate, and I kill him for the nuke. Sometimes it works out that way. Things just roll in your favor. There's a few brief yet small points I want to make about sniping when going for nukes, because there are subtle small differences sometimes. Like for example, your sidearm becomes vitally important, much more so than previous times, because people that try and sneak up on you, it's much easier to get kills with sidearms than it is with an actual sniper rifle. So that becomes very important. M93 Rafikas are probably my favorite in dealing with people that try and sneak up on me. I prefer the thermal sight. Some call it cheap, but I disagree and I call it intelligent when you can see everyone in the map. The one thing I do like to do is I scope in and out frequently when I'm stationary checking for opponents. This allows me to search downfield. When I scope in, I can't see my minimap anymore. So what I tend to do is I scope in and out frequently so that I can scan for people I can't see, yet at the same time be able to at least see my minimap to check for opponents. It's very key you do that, because if you can't see where they are on the minimap, then you're going to have a very hard time checking every angle to search for things. Other than that subtle difference, everything is exactly the same as you would do for any other gun. Take as much cover as possible and search every angle before you move. The one last point I wanted to make before I wrap this up is after you get your first or second kill streak, whether it be the Harriers or the AC or Chopper, always make sure that the coast is clear before you move or before you take cover, before you decide to actually call it in, because I've died countless times trying to find or move to a hiding spot before the coast was clear, and it ruins your nuke chance. In conclusion, I hope you guys like this. I hope I provided an informative video. Anyone on Machinima or YouTube watching this, just if you liked it, give it a like. If you didn't, well, I'm sorry. Just drop a comment if you want to see any other videos from me. Thanks.